Welcome to Theology on the Ground, daily thought for my quiet time. I'm Matthew Kent, and today we're in James chapter 5, first 6 verses. Here we go. James 5:1. Come now, you rich.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, Elijah, that's my son talking to me. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. That's not good. Your riches have rotted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you, and will eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up treasure in the last days. Behold, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you have kept back by fraud, are crying out against you, and the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You lived on the earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened your hearts in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the righteous person. He does not resist you. Now, as I've pointed out before, when I've talked about riches, wealth, from a biblical perspective, is the concept that there's multiple kinds of being rich. You can be rich in, I should say, riches and poverty. You can be rich in just sort of like an absolute sense, or poor in an absolute sense, where you're poor because you don't have enough to provide basic needs, shelter, food, clothing, that kind of thing. Or you can just be poor because you're relatively poor. And so in some senses, you watching this video might be relatively poor if you're thinking about comparing yourself to Oprah. But comparing yourself to all the people who have ever lived, and comparing yourself to all of the people who even are on the earth right now, not in America, not in first world countries, but all the people in the world, chances are you are, relatively speaking, rich. And so I think a lot of times, anytime the Bible has a warning for the rich, not a good idea to just write that off and say, that's not me. It very well could be you. Now, one of the things that happens is that people tend to come with the Bible either with a poverty theology or a riches theology. And the poverty theology, prosperity theology, you might call it. The poverty theology says, God was poor when he came to earth, right? Jesus Christ incarnated, became a man, and lived as a homeless guy. The other would say, yeah, but he is a, king. The streets are paved with gold in the New Jerusalem, and, so God is rich. And those who are rich have God's blessing. The other side says, no, those who are poor are like God, they're closer to God. Really, it's not about rich or poor, it's about character. And so when you read this, I think it helps sort that out. It is a strong indictment of the rich, but for specific reasons. You don't want to be rich and stingy and hoard all your wealth. So very clearly here, the rich are being indicted for not being generous. They're living in self-indulgence. And so in the meantime, so basically their money's going two places. One, it's rotting off in the corner, just sitting there, not doing anything. They're just boasting that they have this heap pile of money. And also it's funding a self-indulgent lifestyle. The other thing that's wrong is they apparently got their money by false means. So you notice here it says that they've withheld the wages from the laborer, and so the voice, the cry of the laborers has reached God. So that's a bad thing. You want to make your money honestly, not through deceit and sketchy marketing tactics, not through fraud, not through theft and withholding wages. You want to make your money honestly. So it's not about rich or poor. It's about whether or not you are righteous, whether or not you're generous with your money, whether or not you've earned your money honestly. And just to be frank, God is going to ordain it that even amongst Christians, some of us are going to have lots of income in our lives. Some of us are going to have not as much income in our lives. Christians should be ready to share with each other, ready to support each other, ready to be generous to others, generous to the poor, generous to those who are needy, and make our money honestly. Those are my thoughts for today. Lord willing, I will see all you guys tomorrow.